Hello there, and an early Happy New Year's to you. I'm recording this around 4 o'clock Central Time on New Year's Eve. I'm a little late to get to it. I was having some technical issues, actually been bothering me for a couple days. That's why I didn't post a video on Monday, December the 30th. I just finally got exasperated and said, no mas. All right, I'm resuming my college football picks for the college football playoff. In the opening round, I went 4-0 straight up, which is no great feat because to me, the winning teams were obvious. I had no reason to bet against them as far as a straight up pick. However, against the spread, I was 2-2. Of course, going against the spread is a much more difficult proposition. I've done pretty well in college football the last couple of years. I haven't talked about enough college football in terms of the national picture here on my YouTube channel. I did have those picks for you before the opening round. And listen, I don't expect these videos on college football picks to get a lot of numbers because I haven't cultivated an audience for them. You know, you're not going to draw audience for people wanting to see what my picks are, because in the past I may have done well for some people that listen to my picks on radio. NFL playoffs, college football, had a really good record in 2023, pretty good this year as well, but you never know. Humble pie is right around the corner. But the point is, no one's going to come here looking for my college football picks if I don't post college football picks. So that's on me to build the audience. But I do want to say thank you to those of you who stopped by and did view the video of me picking the opening round outcomes and straight up and against point spread. So let's do it again. Let's start. We'll go chronological order, and I apologize for getting this up late. Like I said, I was having all kinds of little gremlins in the system today as far as technology. So it's Penn State, Boise State. Penn State's favored by 11.5. Since losing to Ohio State, Penn State has averaged 38 points per game in 6 games. The offense is humming. I have doubts about Boise State's ability to slow down the Nittany Lions. That said, as someone who plans to wager on Penn State, or I already did actually, that 11.5 point spread makes me nervous. Boise State's got a good pass rush that might force the Penn State quarterback, Alar, who's good, but he sometimes he turned the ball over a couple times against SMU in the first round. Maybe he tosses a couple of bad interceptions that changes everything. I don't know. We'll see. And if the Broncos' offensive line can handle Penn State's defensive front, the wonderful, wonderful running back, Ashton Genty, whom I voted for number 2 spot on my Heisman ballot, if he can get going, if we're talking about against the spread pick, in theory, a lot of time-consuming drives, a lot of running plays. They take their time. It's methodical. That would keep the score down in theory, as I said. But this is a substantial step up in class for Boise State. And I know the Broncos took Oregon to the wire as the road team early this season before succumbing on a final play field goal. But here's something to think about. Even though Boise State averaged 6.7 yards per run and Genty motored for about 192 yards against Oregon, at Oregon early on, we also saw in the Big Ten championship game, we saw Penn State average 8.7 yards per carry against the Oregon defense. So what's my point? My point is maybe Oregon's run defense isn't all that good. It's probably not, right? And how is this relevant? Well, because we do know this. Penn State has got one hell of a run defense this season, ranking second in the nation to Texas at stopping the run in the points saved metric that I consult by going to Sports Info Solutions. So if Penn State can just do a reasonable job of preventing, in effect, preventing Genty from running away with the game, literally, right? It's going to put a lot on the Boise State quarterback, Maddox Madsen, and this is by far the best pass defense he has faced this season. It's not even close. According to the Sagarin ratings, the Broncos have played the 89th ranked schedule in terms of difficulty this season. Now here comes Penn State. They're a top 5 team. So the degree of difficulty is really going way up for Boise State. And I think Penn State's got their tight end, Ty Warren, who's an animal. I mean, he's incredible. He can beat you in so many ways. I think that's a mismatch nightmare for the Boise State Broncos. And since we're talking about rushing attacks, Gentry's not the only one. He is the most notable and distinguished one on the field for this one tonight as I record this. But Penn State's got a two-headed beast in Allen and Singleton, and they can wear down and run through anybody. So listen, the Nittany Lions weren't as formidable away from home this season, getting by in close calls to win at USC and Minnesota. Penn State's most impressive performance was probably its loss to Oregon on a neutral field in the Big Ten title game. We can say the same thing about Boise State. Their best performance, even though it was a loss, came at Oregon earlier in the season. So Penn State's my straight up pick, but I do respect Boise State to stay in the hunt and cover the 11.5. All right, let's move it along. Texas against Arizona State. Longhorns favored by 11.5. I'm intrigued by this knowledge because it's 11.5 point spread. It's pretty big. Arizona State enters this game against Texas as the best cover team in the country, going 11-2 against the spread with a big, huge plus 11.3 spread differential, meaning the Sun Devils consistently outperform the expectations that are set by the point spread. I mean, underestimate them at your own risk, right? So that's on my mind, but this is going to be Arizona State's second game without their top receiver. He is great. Jordan Tyson leads them in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, and those numbers are big across the board. Arizona State did great without him against Iowa State in the Big 12 championships, but that's Iowa State, and it's the Big 12 championship game. Texas is much tougher test defensively for that Arizona State offense. Now, because Texas figures to be strong against the pass in this game, this could give them the freedom to just stack the box like crazy and stop that wild boar of a running back for Arizona State. Boy, is he entertaining. Cam Scattleboo. And the top run defense in the nation, if the top run defense in the nation can quiet Scattleboo, then Arizona State's redshirt freshman will have to deliver the game of his life against the number 2 pass defense in the nation. See, Clemson in the first round, they could move the ball in the air against Texas, but Arizona State is going to have to rely on Scattleboo being the wild boar again, as he's been so often for them. He sets up everything, makes it a lot easier for the redshirt freshman quarterback. The 13 teams faced by Arizona State this year, they have an average to total defensive rank of 77. Texas is the number 3 defense in the land. Georgia has showed us how to beat Texas. You do it primarily by getting a lot of pass rush pressure on quarterback Quinn Ewers, who I don't trust anyway. But this is a problem for Arizona, which ranks 100th in the nation in sacks per game. My straight up pick is Texas. Kenny Dillingham's team at Arizona State, they're fearless, they're confident. I think they're going to land some blows. My worry is they'll get a late meaningless touchdown that isn't meaningless against the spread, the old backdoor cover thing. But I still think the Longhorns will cruise and cover. Projected score, Texas 34, Arizona State 17. And I think I neglected to give a projected score for the Penn State-Boise game. I had Penn State winning the thing by about 9. All right, let's go to Ohio State and Oregon. I'm trying to rush. Ohio State and Oregon. Ohio State's favored by 2.5. I was a little surprised to first see the Buckeyes installed as the betting favorite. After all, because Oregon did beat them earlier this year. Granted, it was at home in Oregon, but still, they did beat Ohio State. But looking back on it, Ohio State really should have won that game. They were doomed by 8 penalties, 2 costly turnovers. Quarterback Will Howard, as you remember, had a mental gaffe. He let the clock expire when Ohio State was driving for a potential game-winning score. All they needed was a field goal. The Buckeyes were awful on third down, and it was a one-score game. It was really tight. It was a 1-point game, I think, or a 2-point game. And when you turn the ball over, where they turned the ball over and when they turned it over in that game, just devastating. Surely Ohio State's going to play a cleaner game this time. I really believe that. Because Ohio State is in a different place mentally right now. They were psychologically wrecked by that awful, embarrassing loss to their arch rival, Michigan, at the end of the regular season. But the Buckeyes really recovered, and they showed it by stomping Tennessee in the opening round while delivering their strongest performance all around of the season. Ohio State's also got that thing that I always like, as long as a team has the talent to back it up. But they have this, like, it's us against our own fans. It's us against the media. It's us against the nation. It's us against the world. It's us against the universe. It's us against everybody, including you grandmothers. We're against you too. You know, they're against everybody. So when you take that hard, sharpened edge into a game, I kind of like that. I like that as long as you're good enough to back it up. Ohio State also has a super defense. Oregon averaged 7 yards per play against that defense in the regular season, but I think Ohio State's defenders have gotten better as the season's gone along, and I think they'll do better in the rematch. And their running backs should be able to put up big yards against that so-so Oregon rush defense. The key stat, the Ducks rush defense, 63rd in the nation this season, 63rd in the nation this season in EPA per running play against. Ohio State averaged about 7 yards per play, all offensive plays, 7 yards per play against Oregon in the first meeting. Ohio State did not have a problem moving the ball. They just self-destructed too often. And I think that bodes well for the Ohio State in the rematch. Play a relatively clean game, and Ohio State will win as long as they're aggressive, as long as Chip Kelly keeps attacking, the offensive coordinator doesn't put his team in a shell. I like their chances a lot of winning this game straight up and covering the spread. And you say, well, what about Dylan Gabriel? Doesn't he give Oregon a big edge at quarterback? Well, he gave Oregon a big edge at quarterback in the first game. And yet Oregon was fortunate to get out of there at home with a W. I mean, it was whiskers between the two teams as far as the final margin. And Will Howard is the 12th best passer in the nation, according to Pro Football Focus metrics, which I always pay attention to. And that isn't far behind Dylan Gabriel. It really isn't. So maybe it's a little closer than you think. Maybe just a little. I'm picking Ohio straight up, and I'll also take the Buckeyes to cover that 2.5-point spread. The projected score, Buckeyes 27, Ducks 24. All right, Notre Dame against Georgia. Notre Dame is the underdog in this one. Georgia favored by 1.5. Now, with apologies to University of Georgia quarterback Gunnar Stockton, what a great story he is. I think that stout Notre Dame defense is going to put an end to that story in this quarterfinal matchup. I'm stupid for underestimating Kirby Smart. Okay, let me just say that in advance. But I think the loss of starting quarterback Carson Beck will matter in this game. It's going to make Georgia more one-dimensional, and that works in Notre Dame's favor. Truth is, the Dogs have been pretty average in rushing the football this season, ranking 45th in EPA on the ground. And on the flip side, Notre Dame, I must point out, they don't have great metrics in stopping the run, and their defensive line has really been thinned out by injuries. And Notre Dame, on the other side, you know, what can they do against Georgia? Can Georgia stop the run? I think it's one of the big factors, because Notre Dame makes no mistakes about what they want to do. It's like watching a service academy team in terms of style, almost anyway. This season, the Fighting Irish averaging 36 rushing attempts per game. This season, Notre Dame's, all their plays on offense, 55% have been rushing plays. And so other than Stockton's kind of interesting wild card presence in this matchup, because he did save the day against Texas in the in the SEC title game, I think the key will be Georgia's ability to stop Notre Dame on the ground. If Georgia can do that, it might expose the Fighting Irish quarterback Riley Leonard. Listen, I like him. I'm not dissing him. I'm just pointing out, giving those stats I gave you about how much Notre Dame runs the ball. Riley Leonard has not been asked to do a whole heck of a lot in the air this season, right? Leonard ranked 52nd in the country in the Pro Football Focus passing grades. But the bigger question is Stockton. He's only got 62 dropbacks in his entire college career at Georgia, and 20 of them came against Texas in the SEC game. And in that tilt, that title tilt, he completed 12 passes, and he ran around pretty well. But he only averaged 4.4 yards per pass attempt. He threw a bad interception that nearly cost the Bulldogs a game, and he had another ball that should have been picked off but wasn't. One of my favorite handicappers, Tyler Shoemaker, is big on Notre Dame in this one, just for whatever it is worth. This season, the Shoe is 7-0 when betting on the Fighting Irish, and as much respect as I have, as I mentioned, for Coach Smart, the best there is now that Nick Saban retired, I can't back the Bulldogs as a favorite when they've gone 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 games as the betting favorite, and especially with a little-known backup quarterback. My pick is Notre Dame straight up and Notre Dame against the spread. If you're going to ask me for a final score, I would go with Notre Dame 27 and Georgia 25. And yes, that means Notre Dame with that 1.5 plus 1.5, they cover. Listen, thank you for watching this. I appreciate it and appreciate your support throughout the year. Thank you for helping me launch this channel in 2024. We'll get some more things going for you in 2025, but enjoy the games, the next 4 college football playoff games as we move this thing towards the semifinals. Y'all take care. Have a good, fun night on New Year's Eve and have a fun New Year's Day. See ya.